Codependency is the default expectation for romantic relationships. I'm a woman, yes, I have issues, and as my boyfriend, it's your job to deal with them.
100%. He's really cracked the nail on the head.
Ladies, let me be frank. If there's something wrong with you, some emotional issues, some trauma, whatever it is, your boyfriend cannot fix it for you. Only you are capable of fixing that.
And I think this is a very hard lesson for women to learn. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Christine Grace, and today is another reaction video. Today I'm going to be reacting to Alexander Grace. I've been really enjoying his channel and his videos, so I'm excited to see what he has to say today. Let's get straight into it.
What kind of world do we live in where a normal, regular girl cannot find just a regular guy out here to date? Because these guys don't want a real woman. They want a fantasy. They want to live in this fake fantasy world. They would rather jack off to some screen, to some robot.
I'm already triggered. Guys are the problem. Guys are this. Guys don't want that. Blah, 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 blah. But instead of trying to fix my problem, I'm going to come on the internet and cry about it. If you're going to complain about men, why don't you acknowledge your own faults at the same time? Shock horror, I bet she won't.
Rather than actually deal with a real human being and what comes with that. You know?
A real human being. So go talk to some real human beings instead of your phone.
Because it's easier. And I am done. I'm done.
Yeah, I call bullshit on this. I know it's not a good look for a man to dismiss the suffering of a crying woman. Yes, like any man, when I see a woman crying, it brings up that protective masculine instinct. I do feel that, but as time has gone on in this culture, I have had to teach myself to ignore the emotion and to focus on the content, to listen to the substance, because there are so many women that are emotional, that are crying, they're complaining about how much suffering is in their lives. They're such victims when actually it's their own fault. Take this woman. Now, she's obviously distressed, and I have compassion for any human being who's suffering. It sucks to see her that way, but dating isn't working out for her. And how does she diagnose the problem? Who's at fault here? Who's to blame? Come on. It's 2023. Do you even need to ask? Of course, men are to blame. It's always men's fault. Men want a fantasy. Men can't deal with a real woman. A real woman, it's a fascinating phrase when used in a context like this, and we're going to unpack it, and I think you're going to be really shocked at what we discover. Because it turns out when one of these modern women uses the phrase real women, they have a very specific meaning. So what does it mean to be a real woman? It means you have mental health issues. It means you have huge emotional needs. You have chaos, anxiety, depression. I'm a real woman, and if you want me to be your girlfriend, then that means that all of those problems are now your problems. You have to deal with them. As my boyfriend, it is your job to fix all of this stuff for me. Fascinating, isn't it? Whatever happened to wanting to be a proud, independent woman? No, you see, when a modern woman wants to abscond herself of her responsibilities and just be free and not think about the obligations that she has to other people, then she's a proud, independent woman. But the moment that she needs your help and she needs you to think about your responsibilities and obligations to her, she's no longer a proud, independent woman. No, she's part of a team and she needs you to step up. And if you don't, then you're a pathetic, weak man who can't handle a real woman. It's your job as a man to sacrifice yourself and fix things for her. When you're struggling as a man, hey, that's a you problem. But when she's struggling, whoa, that's different. That's an us problem. Any man who can't stomach that hypocrisy is pathetic and just can't handle a real woman. Have you noticed how few modern women actually embrace the values of self-responsibility when it comes to their own emotions, when it comes to their own mental health issues? For a regrettably large segment of the female population, codependency is the default expectation for romantic relationships. I'm a woman, yes, I have issues, and as my boyfriend, it's your job to deal with them. At its core,
100%. He's really cracked the nail on the head. I get asked the question a lot, you know, what's a huge problem facing women today? And I often say promiscuity, but I actually think he may have trumped that answer. Codependency, yeah, is a huge one because it takes everything into account. Lack of accountability, no self-responsibility. Codependency is such a huge problem with women, especially today. It's very interesting. We're only 3 minutes in.
This belief is toxic, it's abusive, and frankly, it's sexist. Now, I am sympathetic to the criticism of men that says that we need to understand that relationships are messy, human beings are not simple, we need to put in work, we need to be there for each other. But the blanket criticism of all men as pathetic because they're growing fatigued by the increasing emotional demands of real women is completely sexist, and it conveniently ignores the fact that women's expectations of men in the modern age are completely unreasonable. Every single week when guys write to me for advice on Hey Hero, I'm hearing stories of women with massive emotional needs and men putting in hundreds of hours trying to fix things for their girlfriends. The amount of work that some of these guys are putting in trying to meet the emotional needs of their partner is insane. But women get away with this because that's the masculine instinct. We feel compelled to protect, to comfort the women in our lives. When she's struggling, a lot of men feel like it's their duty, it's their honor, it's their obligation to try and help her. And it's devastating to me to see that positive, admirable instinct inside of men be so ruthlessly exploited. Because for some of these women, it is a bottomless pit. Unless she is taking responsibility for her own issues, it doesn't matter what he does. It's never going to be enough. Ladies, let me be frank. If there's something wrong with you, some emotional issues, some trauma, whatever it is, your boyfriend cannot fix it for you. Only you are capable of fixing that. Now, that's just a statement of fact. No amount of demanding more from your boyfriend and shaming him when he doesn't live up to your expectations are actually going to solve your inherent issues. The codependency that you're preaching cannot solve emotional problems. It just creates new ones. The expectation that it is his role to make things right for you is just going to drain him of whatever energy he has as you exploit the love that he has for you to try and do the impossible.
And I think this is a very hard for women to learn because we're so sheltered and coddled right from birth, whereas men, it's sort of like, get up and go out and take on the world and make something of yourself. Whereas as women, we're so sort of protected. And I guess when you become an adult, it can be hard for women to accept that actually your emotional issues and your baggage and whatever it is that you've been through, it is your responsibility. It is heartbreaking because it's so rife in society. This codependency issue that he's speaking to. Women really do think that the right guy is going to be the answer. But the truth is, people aren't answers. People are people. You can only answer your own problems. And again, speaking to his point, of course, there are going to be times where codependency is going to be higher than other times. Of course, you're going to go through things in life. Life is hard. You're going to go through things in life that are really difficult. And, your partner will be there to help you through that. It's not I often observe as women, we bring a lot of baggage to relationships. We expect the current boyfriend to fix the issues or mistakes that the past boyfriend made. And that's just not fair and also it's quite psychotic actually, because it means that you view a boyfriend as simply just a boyfriend and not an actual individual. You're not seeing them for their individual value that they, have and that they can bring to your life. You're just seeing them as, the next one. And well, the last guy who was in this place did all of this. So they use that as an excuse to say, well, that means that I have all of these trust issues because you could do that, and that's not to take away that you might have had bad things happen to you that constitute you having trust issues. But the clear distinction is that you need to understand that just because someone is in the same place as the previous person who hurt you, that doesn't give you a right to then assume that they're going to do the same thing. That's your responsibility to deal with your trust issues and to be so aware of them that it doesn't affect your relationship. And I think that happens a lot, that prior issues affect relationships and women become so codependent that they expect the latest boyfriend to be the answer to all of the questions that she had from the last boyfriend.
If you keep this up, he's going to burn out. Now, I'm not saying that you don't come to him with any problems, okay? You are a team. You're meant to communicate, share what you're going through. That's healthy. But at a core level, you need to be an adult. You need to understand that your issues are your issues and it's your responsibility to fix them. Anything else is toxic codependence and it's not going to end well. We saw some examples of that in my course. In those stories, we saw how quick women are to question a man's love, to question a man's commitment to her, when the real motivation is to simply manipulate him into doing more for her. Yes, I have heaps of emotional issues. Yes, I have unresolved trauma, but if he loves me, then he should want to fix that for me. If he's truly committed to me, then he should be able to handle all of that. First off, no, that's wrong because he can't fix it, only you can. But secondly, consider the standard that you're applying inside your relationship. Like, let's flip it. Instead of just talking about his love for you, why don't we talk about your love for him? And this is the part of the conversation that gets really uncomfortable for women. So let's go there. You keep talking about what a man should do for you if he loves you, all the obligations and responsibilities he has towards you. But if you love him, isn't it your job to make his life easier? If you truly love him, don't you feel like it's your responsibility to make yourself as small of a burden on his life as possible? To take responsibility for your own issues so that he doesn't have to deal with you? Isn't that the kind thing to do? And if you truly love him, wouldn't you do that for him? What would your relationship look like if instead of constantly asking, what is this man doing for me, if you spent 50% of the time asking, what can I do for this man? You know, we're living in fucked up times when such a simple, logical question feels controversial to say out loud. But here's the hard facts. The criticism leveled at men, oh, he can't handle a real woman. He just wants things to be simple and easy. That makes no sense. How is that a criticism? Why on earth would a man not want things to be simple and easy? How is that a flaw in his character? What rational person wants things to be difficult? Yes, we should all have reasonable expectations. Life is hard, relationships are difficult, human beings are complex. We're all going to have struggles and we need to work together to overcome that. But doesn't it make sense that all of the effort that we're putting in is in service of the goal of making our lives easier and more simple? We struggle now so that we don't have to struggle in the future. We work on our mental health issues and engage in all of this self-improvement so that in the future, we can live a life without anxiety, without depression, without trauma, without big emotional issues. We want to be happy. We want to be well adjusted. We want to have a peaceful existence. If a man says that he wants his relationship to be simple and easy, that's not a character flaw. That's evidence that his head is screwed on straight. I'll go even further. His job as the leader in the relationship is to steer both of you towards the greener pastures, to guide you to a life where there is less struggle, less suffering, less pain. That's his goal. That's what he's trying to achieve. And as his girlfriend, the least that you can do is support him in that. And you do that by taking responsibility for your own issues
and not presenting hurdles in the process of getting there. But we live in a world where conflict is just so promoted. It's everywhere around us. The only news you hear about is bad news. And, you know, everyone loves a drama. You know, we all love gossip and things like this. So women are just addicted to the conflict, whether it be in the form of, you know, conflict between celebrities, conflict in the news, on TV shows, you know, the instant gratification from things like Instagram. Everything's just so selfish and instant right now. And I guess perhaps there's a link between, I'm pretty sure I read something about this somewhere, the ups and downs of a sort of toxic relationship. I think a lot of women are stuck in the loop of thinking that that's love because there's so many emotions involved. And because we're such emotional beings, we mistake the thrill of the rush from that as being love. Yeah, it's a problem. Not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, you know, you want to make each other's lives easier. But I feel like in today's generation, we've kind of fallen for the love that we see in, you know, films and TV shows where it all has to be very up and down on a roller coaster and this whirlwind of emotions. That's not healthy. That's exhausting. And look at the effect that stress has on your body. I mean, the amount of studies that have been done into that over the last 10 years, it's awful. You're literally halving your life pretty much going through that. But yeah, it's like a drug addiction. It's the thrill of the rush, and people, especially women, seem to love it, and we're really indulged in it right now.
Working on them yourself. I put this challenge out to all women. You need to stop blaming men for not being able to achieve the impossible, for not being able to solve all of your emotional issues. The only thing you're achieving with all of that blame is a perpetual state of victimhood and the ability to continue to absolve yourself of personal responsibility.
Well, women like to be victims, and we know this, but it's just a shame, isn't it, that that's the goal. Oh, I met this guy and he solved all my problems. Instead of, I'm a competent adult who took responsibility for my life, solved my problems myself so I could be the best version of myself for the person I love. No one seems to value that. We just want to outsource the responsibility of our own adult lives onto someone else. You can fix me, because I'm not grown enough to fix myself. That's a real shame that that's where we are.
Which is not good for you. It's a bad strategy and it's not going to make you happy. It should be your conscious goal to be as small a burden to your boyfriend as possible. That is what you should be aiming for. Yes, some things will come up and you'll need some support. They'll come up for him as well. That's to be expected. You help each other out, but it's within the greater context of wanting to be better, to get better, to live a life that is better, where life is happy, simple, and easy. So to the high quality women in my audience, if your boyfriend or husband says to you things like, God, I enjoy life with you. You make things so simple. You make things so easy. Existence with you is so peaceful. Well done. Congratulations. You're awesome. You are doing a great job as his wife. But if your husband or boyfriend is just beaten down and tired by all of the codependent expectations that he solve all of your emotional issues, then you need to do better. And there's a lesson in that for men too. We should ask the question, is this gendered, or is it also a man's responsibility to be as small a burden to his wife or girlfriend as possible as well? There's some really interesting nuances in that one when you flip the genders, and I give the full answer to that question in the Patreon version of this video.
Well, I mean, c'est la vie. That's life, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's a huge issue right now, the issue of codependency. We all have this idea, at least from what I've seen in my generation, Gen Z, the idea that the right guy is going to come along and fix everything is absolutely rife. And I'm not even saying that I didn't think like this at one point. Of course, I've grown up in this generation. I've experienced it myself. You try and outsource all of your problems, and unfortunately part of growing up and being an adult is realizing you are the source of your problems, and people really don't like to hear this, especially people who've been through real hardships in life, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that, you know, I probably have lived quite a sheltered life and I haven't been through as much as, say, other people, so it's probably a lot easier for me to say this, but nonetheless I will say it. If you go through life with the mindset that no matter what happens to you and no matter where you end up, it is your fault, that's actually a really good mindset to have, because if everything is your fault and your responsibility, that means you have control of it. If you tell yourself something's happened to me that's really, really bad, and it very well could be very serious and very bad, but if you say, well, it's because someone or something else did something to me, that means it's out of your control, which means you can't change it, which means it could happen again. Whereas you flip it onto the perhaps harsh mindset of, how did I get myself here? How do I take responsibility for this? Whilst that might hurt in the moment, of course it does, it's a bit of a kick to the ego, that means you have control of it. You can control it. If it's your responsibility, you can make sure it doesn't happen again, or if it does, it doesn't happen as bad. But I think a lot of people really don't like the idea because of how much it can hurt, especially the ego at the time, to have something really bad happen to you that perhaps circumstantially, you know, in your experience might not be a direct consequence of you. But to take the responsibility on yourself, I really think is the only way out of it. And from personal experience, applying that mindset to my own life, making everything my responsibility, even things that a lot of people tell me, Christine, that's not your fault that happened. No, I say everything that's happened to me in my life is my fault and I deserved it because I have control over me and what happens to me. But hey, that is just what I think. It's served me well in my life. Why don't you guys let me know if you have a similar mindset, how it's worked out for you. You know, if it's worked out well, great. If it hasn't, tell me why. And yeah, do you agree that codependency is a big issue among modern day women? Because I definitely do. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what you say in the comments below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to my channel as well to ensure that you never miss any more reaction videos and to keep up to date with my series Debunking the Lunacy. And I look forward to seeing you over there.